All right, we're back for episode 78 of Digital Divination. Jason, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. We just spent the
Yeah.
weekend up in Camino, and it was
Mm.
pretty crummy weather till
Oh, yeah.
today. It was
Right.
like gorgeous and sunny, and we didn't want to leave. But I don't
Oh.
like recording my podcast there because I don't have like here. I got some sound dampening
Mhm.
stuff up,
Oh, yeah.
and there I don't. And it just echoes all over the place.
Mm.
Back to record, but
Well,
it was good.
that's nice. That's nice. I did, yeah, I enjoyed a little bit of that sun. I actually sat out on the patio for a few minutes at one point, and then I got a little cloudy again on our normal walk time.
Yeah,
But what are you gonna do?
yeah, yeah. You have a dog?
Yes. Yeah.
What I thought I saw you walking a dog that one time. What type of dog you have?
He is a Chihuahua breed of some kind. I'm not really
Yeah,
100% sure because we got him
yeah,
from
yeah,
a
yeah.
shelter company type situation.
Mhm.
And, we don't really fully know how old he is either, we just kinda know he's a dog.
He's a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a dog as well,
Mhm.
Chance, he's Australian Shepherd. We really
Ooh,
he looks like one, so that's kinda what he
yeah.
and he's 13, so he's getting long on the
Oh,
tooth.
yeah. I bet.
And, tomorrow, I'm actually gonna bring him over to Ron's house. We're gonna do some gaming, and I'm
Ooh.
trying to get him acclimatized to Ron's dogs because 'cause we'd like to
Oh,
leave him there for a
yes.
week and go on
Yeah.
vacation without him. Um, when he was younger, we would take him to, like, a regular kennel to stay. He gets really nervous, and now that he's old,
Yeah.
we don't want him to have a stroke or heart attack or anything, going in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Our dog can't go in a kennel or anything like
yeah,
that. He likes, 2 other dogs at this point, and that's about it. Both
yeah.
of them,
Oh,
he never hasn't seen in a long time.
yeah,
That's, Ajax, Amanda Hammond's, dog, and Ada Crystal Frazier's,
yeah.
second corgi. He knew Calamity, their first corgi, but, she's since
Mhm.
passed on. But, that was the only dogs that he ever liked he's ever liked so far. With the
Yeah,
exception of one random dog in our neighborhood that we met to sort of,
yeah.
and one and I did something unheard of, which is what I invited the couple that owned that dog over to our apartment one night. Just said, "Hey, let's play a board game and something when the dogs don't
Yeah,
run around," and it was great. And I I tried to make like new friends, I guess,
yeah.
in my mid to late 40s, which is next to impossible to do. They have since moved away to somewhere I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, my dog does not get along with other dogs,
Mm,
except if they come to our house, then he figures
yeah,
they're okay.
that's okay.
And so we brought him over. I brought him last weekend to meet with their dogs. They got a small black lab mix, and then a tiny Bichon Frise thing. And yeah, he got along well with the lab. The I don't know. It's a mix, right? It's a mix.
Mhm.
Mostly because that dog could outrun it all over the place. So if it wanted to get him away, he just
Sure,
because
yeah.
I thought my dog likes to run, but no, he's so old. He can't. So he just got tuckered out. Then all the fight was
Yep,
out of him, and then they hung out fine. So I'm hoping we're gonna try it
good.
again, and then maybe try an
Mhm,
overnighter because
mm,
we haven't left him at anybody's house for a long time, and I want him to feel comfortable. Anyway, you
yeah,
mentioned walking the dog and stuff like that. That made
yeah,
me think. Um,
that's fine.
we had decided we were going to talk about comic books this time. I don't know if you
Mhm.
remember that.
Oh, yeah. I
Uh,
do now.
but something happened in the intervening time, and it's preempted our regular programming. We're going to talk
Yeah.
about what are we going to talk about?
Starfinder Enhanced.
Starfinder
Sorry, did I
Enhanced.
step on your toes? It seemed like you were giving
No,
me
no, I was
a little
waiting
bit
for
of a
you,
cue to say
waiting
it.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Starfinder Enhanced. This was announced in
Just a couple days that's last week? Yeah,
like
like
Tuesday, I think, or something.
yeah, Tuesday, and then all the other stuff that happened, like, Thursday and Friday for
Yeah, yeah,
Pathfinder.
yeah.
But,
Then right.
yeah, Starfinder Enhanced is coming out, but basically, I think they're trying how it didn't quite make it in for a Gen Con release, is from what I remember, so it's gonna be like a holiday release situation.
It says October. Now I'm going to ask you. You
October.
mentioned that.
Yeah.
Why didn't it make it in for Gen Con? Was that something that happened early on, or is it?
It is no, yeah, it was decided early on. I think the schedules are just in such a way that, like,
Mhm.
there's we don't want the Paizo didn't want to necessarily compete too much between Pathfinder and Starfinder for big Gen Con releases.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
there's maybe we
Okay.
could put something out for Starfinder for Gen Con. Maybe it's like the beginning of a new adventure path, or
Mhm,
a
mhm.
standalone module or something like that. But the big ones were always like, this new hardcover Pathfinder thing is coming out, this vision stuff. So we just sort of Starfinder got kind of pushed to be a little more like holiday release, kind of
Mhm,
October,
mhm.
November, get it in time for Christmas kind of stuff, and that's fine. We get our books that way. One sort of around PaizoCon, which is always kind of fun, and then one
Right.
kind of October.
Mhm. Yeah, I was wondering about that because, I finished working on it quite a long time ago. You and I both worked
Yeah,
on this,
that's true.
and I
Yeah.
thought for sure it was gonna be a Gen Con release, but you're saying early on they decided not to.
No, it was all scheduled out beforehand. We just, finishing up ports of call. Because these things get planned out so much. Like, yeah,
Right, 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 right.
it was still in development. I think November of
Okay.
last year ish,
Well, I
maybe just
so I
finishing with
was
it. Yeah.
hoping I was hoping it was being delayed a little bit past Gen Con before I got all this information from the
Sure.
developer guy that was working on this stuff. You weren't working on this book, obviously, but
No,
you were
no,
working there.
I was
I
in
was
the room where it was being scheduled and
right.
outlined at the time. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was hoping that maybe the orc version of Starfinder was coming out and they were busy working on that and I pushed this out. Now you've dashed my hopes and all those rumors I've been oh no, I haven't been
John, it's gonna take more than, like, an extra couple of months to, because that whole thing surprised everybody, I think, and there's
yeah.
no way that, like, if we're starting another getting a new Starfinder out, that would happen for another year at the
Yeah,
minimum.
well, I thought maybe they had to convert it. They had okay, so let's back up. I've heard a lot of people
Yeah.
call this thing like Starfinder Unchained.
Mhm, yeah.
What does that mean?
So, Pathfinder Unchained, if you're not familiar, was a book that came out around, gosh, no, 6 or 7 years into the life cycle of Pathfinder First Edition. It tweaked a little bit of some of the classes to sort of do some balances there, presented some optional rules, presented some more stuff basically for it. And fun fact, that was the first book that I was did some editing work on, freelance edit, I think.
Oh,
Sounds from it's vaguely I think that, yeah, it was before I got a full-time job there, but there was some
yeah.
editing work that needed to get done, so I did, like, a chapter or a section of a chapter, that was all. I feel like most of Pathfinder Unchanged was, like, a lot of alternate rules, scaling magical items, and I
Mhm.
think there was, like, a fatigue stamina system in there. There was
Oh,
some
interesting.
extra bits of, like, things you can do with weapon feats kind of stuff, if I recall. But Starfinder Enhanced is a little bit of that. There's some class tweaks, some fixes to like the Envoy and the Solarian and stuff. But it's also just more stuff. It's also just
Mhm.
feats that aren't optional. They don't need to be quote unquote, and you don't need to buy into any kind of optional system to get them. Or
Right, right.
apparently some new playable species as well, which is actually something I didn't remember until I heard the announcement.
Yeah. Yeah, I see, it says 12 playable species, including, the kitsune and the tiny Novians?
Yeah, that's total news to me, actually. I mean, the
Yeah,
Kitsune is extant in the alien character deck. So this is, I
right,
think, it's just sort of putting it into a book so it's a little more
right, a full
official.
page on it or 2,
Yeah,
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 probably.
exactly.
Yeah. What's a Novian? Born
I
from
don't know.
dying suns. Well, no
Some
so it
kind
sounds
of
like a nova. Is
right?
there maybe that's like the perfect, like, Solarian race then for some reason because
Maybe.
yeah, no.
I picture when they say tiny, I'm picturing going for like some sort of fey or sprite
Oh,
based kind of thing, but I honestly don't know. Maybe it's some sort of like elemental thing.
yeah.
Elemental
I was
species.
thinking it was gonna be like a white dwarf, like super, super dense,
Oh,
small,
yeah.
yeah, creature,
Oh,
but,
God, my super
tiny but strong, yeah.
yeah, exactly. Well, we'll have to
Interesting.
see. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no,
That
I have no idea, didn't work on these things, didn't know, so
yeah. and
Oh,
I
and,
forgot everything that was in the outline. Except for
yes.
the things that I worked on, I kinda forgot everything that was in the outline.
Oh, yeah, you know what? I didn't even go back and look at the outline. I just went to look at the things I worked on, to make sure I didn't say anything about anything I'm not supposed to, and that's one
Right.
of the things I wanna, reiterate for everyone that at this point, all authors are allowed to say is that we worked on this book
That's right.
and talk about what's already been, made publicly available. That's all
Yeah.
we can do. But they've said some really cool stuff, and one of
Mhm.
the things in is my favorite thing, so far that saw, but it ruins a Starfinder Infinite thing I was gonna work on. It's
Oh,
the
no.
rules for scalable equipment.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted that so long, so bad. So, I'm hoping that it works both it says, mentions your trusty sidearm. I'm hoping
Mhm.
it's armor and weapons because
Mm.
it's just a pain every time you level that you gotta go, "Oh, well, this is no good anymore. I'm gonna throw it in the trash and
Well,
get
it's
something
not
new."
necessarily no good anymore, it's just, do you have the money to buy the next best thing, you know?
Yeah,
You
but
don't
then I
throw out
can't
your old
sell the old
iPhone.
thing for hardly anything. This
That's
was
true.
perfectly great a minute ago. Now it's only worth 10% of, the value to me, and yeah.
As soon as you take it off the lot, it depreciates in value. You know that.
90% though, that's a lot, yeah.
It's a lot, you know, look,
Yeah,
what are you gonna
yeah,
do when things are mass produced to such an extent in the Starfinder future that
true.
stuff is just cheap. You just take it
Yeah.
apart yourself and just use those UPBs to make your own stuff.
Yeah, but you only get so much UPB it
You only get
basically the
10%
same.
version.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
so
Yeah, the exact
because
same
if that
number.
were the case, I think that's 100% we should be able to do that, but, um, that could lead to all kinds of other problems, I would imagine.
Yes.
"Oh, look, there's a car in the street. Let's take it apart for UPBs and make a tank." Yeah, you know?
Oh boy. Okay, sure, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
And then why are
you know,
people taking things up? I don't see people talking about vehicles and turning those in, or decrafting them and recrafting them. That's not something that I've ever had happen in any, like, game or campaign.
well, I
Interesting.
just thought of it. I'm thinking if I wanted a
Yeah.
lot of UPVs, I could go, get a big vehicle,
Yeah. Those
so
are,
anyway,
because those are kind of priced to be affordable when the party pools their money a little bit. That's the sort of
yeah, they're
intent on
not
why they're kind of expensive.
super, super expensive, but they're
No.
more expensive than one person can typically,
Yeah, usually.
and then the starships are priceless, obviously. You can't really
Of
junk them for you.
course. No.
That would
Where
really
you'd
break
be
the
stuck.
system. Yeah. But anyway, I'm pretty excited about that's one of the specific things they, talked about, and, new subsystems for narrative starship combat. I
Yeah, yeah.
remember, Jason Tondro talking about
Mhm.
something, that he wanted to do at some point, building this, so I'm hoping that this is something that, kind of fits what his vision was and
Sure,
shortens
yeah,
combat.
no.
We did, in Intrepid Heroes, we were doing a Starship Combat. It's probably level 16, and,
Mhm.
it took, like, 2.5 hours, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
man, this is taking so long." I told Ron, "Man, I'm just gonna toss this episode. I'm gonna get rid of it because I don't even wanna
Oh,
listen to it again." It was so
oh
long
boy.
going through it. I don't wanna listen again to edit it. So I'm the narrative, Starship Combat can't come
Yeah.
soon enough for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Taking the sort of, like, concept behind, Starship Chases,
Oh, yeah.
which
Yeah, yeah.
has a little bit of, sort of a speedy resolution of, like, this happens, and
Mhm.
then you all roll some dice, and then it's the next round already, and there's a little more, freeformness to it,
Yeah.
would be a good way to sort of make this narrative Starship Combat go hopefully faster. Um, we'll have to see the details, when they come out, but, I'm also looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I agree, the whole thing a lot of times you're just trying to get away from somebody,
Sure,
and,
yeah.
like, all of a sudden you're caught in, hex grid hell and you can hardly move versus the chase things, if you get 2 zones ahead, you're gone. So,
Sure, yeah.
you know
That one there, I mean, that's the vehicle chase, which is so different, but the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Starship Chases one
yeah,
is like, it's always 6 rounds,
yeah,
and that's it, right?
yeah,
And then those could be more for than just chases not just actual chases, but like a
right,
gauntlet of something that you have to
right.
pass your way through. And then you just sort of resolve, if I recall correctly, resolve rounds. Who's got the
Yeah,
most hit points kind of situation.
they had in Society Play, they had a couple starship kinda races and chases as well,
Mhm.
which looked a lot like vehicle chases,
Mm,
and basically the way they were set up,
yeah,
so, so I can envision what it might look like. In any
yeah.
case, I think it should expedite things, and hopefully, this is something that becomes society legal too, so that we
Mhm.
can.
Yeah, hopefully.
'Cause that's where time crunches really come in. If you introduce
Yeah.
a Starship Combat that's gotta go the full length, that eats up a lot of your time, at the gaming table, your 4 to 5 hours, so,
And of course, it
um,
took all of those systems and kinda threw them out the window for Redshift Rally, which
yeah.
doesn't it has its own victory point system happening, for the races, so, take your pick out there. If you wanna find something for your campaign, wait for this to come out too, but also, grab Starship Chases from Starship Operations Manual, or go look at, the race stuff that's in Redshift Rally,
Yeah.
which I, sort of modeled on, I had Jessica model on the pirate ship regatta from, Skull and Shackles, First
Oh,
edition Pathfinder thing,
yeah.
yeah.
So what kinda things looking at the list of here, what are some of the things that
Hmm,
you're excited about?
what am I excited about? Well, I like that Starship combat situation. Oh, the whole idea of just sort of some of these new class stuff,
Mhm.
sort of rebalancing. I think that there's some stuff about I think the Witch Warper that could use some rebalance.
Oh, nice.
So, there's all sort of like, trying to like get it up to the point where like, how everyone loves the operative and
Right.
how good they are at skills and stuff like that. And it's taking stuff like the envoy and kind of like giving a little bit of a bump to make it more compatible, more
Mhm.
competitive, I guess, with that sort of stuff.
Right, 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 right.
Um, I don't know what they're going to do with the Solarian though. I always thought that one was pretty much okay.
Yeah, I can see. I mean, there's been certain things introduced that can speed up your number of rounds before you can do
Mm.
your big thing, whatever they call the big thing.
Yeah,
Again, your Solarian, whatever it
Stellar
is.
Revelation.
Yeah, the Revelation. So, because that's when you a lot of battles don't last 3 rounds. So,
Fair enough. Okay,
to be
yeah.
able to get something in the first round right off the bat would be nice, and so on and so forth. And your big thing. If your big thing never goes off because you defeat everything so fast,
Hmm.
that could be very frustrating. And
It can be tough. Yeah.
the Witch Warper, again, I have not worked on any of these things, so I'm just kind of guessing
Mhm.
like you. Yeah, I've only played a Witch Warper a little bit. It seems interesting, but not hasn't been really compelling to me. Like even the yeah, no, what's the psychic one? The
Precog.
precog. Like the precog has some really
Mm.
really neat stuff to it.
Yeah.
Technomancer has some really, really neat stuff to it, kind of ones that kind of sit around the space around the Witch Warper. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I just haven't got into the Witch Warper as much. So I'm hoping they have some cool mechanics in there that
Yeah.
make it a bit more exciting.
I think sort of the bigger issue with the Witch Warper is that there's like this like eating. You're spending your spell slots on
Right.
like two different things. You have to
Right.
decide, and like the spell slots are such a precious commodity in Starfinder that it feels weird to have them power Witch Warper's sort of main class ability in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
Do all those sort
Hmm.
of little tweaks here and there. Just seemed like then you weren't casting spells. You're just doing that. Why not just make that not make it a spell casting class, make it a that class, whatever you call that.
Right.
Uh,
Special
uh,
abilities that you get
Special
to do.
abilities that you spend the points on, kind of, I guess like the Vanguard was. Maybe when uh, 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 character operations manual, couldn't remember the name for a second,
Yeah.
was coming out. Maybe there was like, oh well, Vanguard spends points. Biohacker has this kind of like big chunky thing of like how many you
Yeah.
can spend per day, but you some when you get your stamina points kind of situation that they were trying for a third kind of resource management
Right.
type of
Right.
resource
And I
management.
think that's the mechanic that maybe bugged me the most is I couldn't do a lot of things I wanted
Yeah.
to do. It's funny, and I'm playing in a 5e game, and you talk about expending spell slots for things. I'm playing a paladin, and
Mm.
basically I can expend spell slots. so I can do extra smiting damage, right, with that.
Oh, okay.
So it
Hmm.
enables me to buff something else by using up that resource pool. So and that doesn't bother me as much in that game, but I think the difference is the Witch Warpers thing is like really, really big, and it's like
Yeah.
different from the spells rather than
Yeah.
additive to them. And so it's like becomes an either or thing rather than a building upon thing. Yeah.
Something like a paladin, you're not in it for spells, right? You
Right.
kind of just get some spells later on, if that's
Mhm.
the way the class works for you. But you're mainly just I got a shield and a sword, maybe, or armor. I'm here to mete out justice. And so yeah, there's sort of like, maybe I will cast. Is it? I don't know much about the 5e paladin. But do you get like lay on of hands as a spell, or is it just sort of a class feature type
That's
stuff,
a
or is that not
class
even in it?
feature. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you have a class feature, and you get a choice between 3 things you can do with it and then kind of a
Yeah.
resource pool if you do some things with it. But the neat thing about, I'll say, expending spell slots as the paladin is after you hit, you can decide if you wanna expend spell slots to do extra
Oh,
dice of
okay.
damage.
Yeah.
And so if you're going against for me, like, we're going against a big nasty boss, and I think, "Wow, this is I'm gonna expend a second level spot to do an extra 48 damage on this guy." Well,
Yeah.
that's a big deal because that's, like,
Yeah.
way more than my normal damage. So
That's
it's a
definitely
big
big.
buff,
Yeah.
um, versus the spell itself may not may be okay, but
Yeah. Get you something.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the Witch Warper just had, like, small things, and it was just, like, tweak the terrain a little bit, and it wasn't, like,
Yeah.
a ton of nothing huge and could be potentially game changing, like dealing a big chunk of extra damage. But you brought that stuff was in the spells, I think, more or less, so
Yeah.
you'd wanna save it for the spells, so you would then actually never use the Witch Warper's kind of, like, main class feature, which was this, I can't remember the name of it now, like, alternate war something like.
Yeah, 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 I think I tell you, the terrain thing, you say just tweaking it, that's actually pretty substantial. I've seen it
So, okay,
in
fair.
is yeah, all of a sudden you put a big old hole between you and the enemy that, they're stuck down there and, it's, you've got fire on, so I mean, there's
Yeah.
some
There's
benefits,
some
but
things you
you're
could do.
right.
But it could be you could be doing that. You could have the choice to do that or a spell on your turn,
Right,
but they come from
right.
different resources, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm,
that's the thing. Because I remember like the whole idea behind the Witch Warper. Um, this is a little behind the scenes stuff too that I think people like to hear. We had a whole like character operations manual like the off-site meeting, talk
mm,
about all of the classes and what they would do
mhm,
and what kind of niches they would fill and that kind of stuff. And just sort of starting with the general ideas that we kind of already had, the three, but then we went kind of like, into beats. It was like the whole Starfinder team at the time. And it was a lot of fun and a lot of work as well. But the whole idea behind Witch Warper class was to be like, oh, that's the battlefield kind of control
right, command and
you know,
control kinda, yeah, yeah,
yeah, just sort of
yeah,
lock people down or
brain and
sort of like
stuff.
make things one way or the other. So it was because you had your mystic being the spellcaster that was kind of buffs and heals and stuff like that, and then the technomancer one, which is a little more damagey, a little more computer related and whatnot.
Mhm,
And this would be the third type of spellcaster that we could think of at the time, which was a sort of lockdown
mhm.
battlefield control.
Oh, no, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
looking at, what they're gonna do, so you mentioned the Witch Warper, and they're
Hmm.
introducing new versions, it says, of the Envoy,
Right. Yeah.
Solarian, Technomancer, and Witch Warper, all revised to make them more balanced and easy to play.
Hmm.
So maybe there's some simplification in there
Yeah.
for things. Um,
Yeah.
I
Hopefully.
other than the Witch Warper, I didn't think the other ones were all that difficult to play. I mean,
I think
yeah,
like you were saying about the Solarian, there's a little bit of maybe confusion about
right,
that's
yeah,
an unusual resource tracking where you just sort of are on a sliding marker and then not necessarily
right,
like a points pool which just goes up and down. This sort of can go kind of from a 0 point to a positive or a negative, on an
yeah,
axis. So it's a little confusing, but I don't know if that's one of the things they tried this week. But I know that most of it was to sort of keep them in line with some of the newer other classes,
oh, that
more
makes sense.
popular classes. So it's kind of giving them a little
Yeah,
bit of a boost here and there where
mhm,
appropriate. Like I know that Envoy, for instance, right? It seems pretty much de rigueur to take the uh, boost person stamina because that's like the
right,
only almost the only class feature that does that for Starfinder. give people
Right.
stamina in the middle of the fight. And I think like if you have an envoy in your class in your party, they've probably taken that improvisation.
Right.
If not, it's fine. It's probably will be fine. But also like
Yeah.
it just seems it's so good. But also to be a point where like well, why not just make that kind of like part of the class and not have to worry about spending a sort of class
Oh,
resource on it, right? And
interesting.
then everyone does it. It's just sort of a base thing,
Yeah.
and
But,
then you pick stuff around. I don't
it's
know if that's
funny
going
you
to be what's
mentioned
happening,
that.
but
When we first started playing Dead Suns, right when it first
mhm.
came out, Ron Lundeen joined our group as a envoy. One of the things he did not have
Oh,
was
we didn't have
inspiring
inspiring
boost.
boost.
So we were just gonna start I didn't even know that thing existed
Oh
because he never
no.
used it. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
he was like the anti-envoy. He was very much not like the cookie cutter that we have
Mhm.
now. I then I had no idea what's envoy about? What's it do? Because we were just getting into it. I hadn't been doing a lot of society play at that time. We were just started. Um, it's funny you mentioned. So I think building in stuff like that, I think that's way cooler. Um,
Mhm.
one of the things I have difficulty, I have a Vanguard that just hit level 20 in our AP.
Ooh, yeah.
Uh, Tracking your entropy points,
Mm.
right? When you get them,
Okay.
that's actually a challenge for
Alright,
doing
fair
things.
enough. Yeah.
Scaling up and down. So I'm gonna be curious to see if they transferred over that mechanic. Lower levels is not a big deal, right?
Right, yeah.
But as you get to higher levels and you have more things that can give you points, more things you can
Mm.
spend them on. Now that's we don't have a whole lot of level 20 adventures. I mean, basically
Yeah.
we're in the only one. Now there's homebrews though. I mean, they're gonna go to level 20. So I,
Maybe
I would expect that becomes something. So
there's something about level 20 play that is just I feel like going to be inherently complicated no matter what.
mhm.
But if there's like, yeah, lots of things to keep track of, I can see confusing.
Well, other things looking on here, there's an expanded creature companions. I don't know if this is more feats related to them or more that you can have as companions. So I'm kind of curious to see that as
Yeah.
well.
I can't quite remember that one. There's just more of them or just ways to get them something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who knows? And then
Yeah, this other one. It's good.
which other one?
Which the sorry, yeah, I thought you were gonna say,
I was gonna let you
the
say it.
let me say it. New chances to spend resolve points, for
Yes.
every character. So, like, looking a little bit of, not saying this is how it's gonna go, obviously, just sort of, but also looking at how, hero points sort of have that kind of like for
Oh
understanding
yeah.
have a little bit of like, well, I would give them and but if there was like a different ways to spend resolve points, because some classes don't have a ton of them, some of them do have a ton of them,
Mhm.
but like, is it just for stamina and keeping yourself alive when you die? And that's a little bit boring. Maybe there's some sort of an alternate system that you can be like, well, spend resolve points, do some reroll. That's good for that works for every character.
Right.
Increase your armor class for 1 round or something like that. I don't know what they're going to be doing, but it's that should be an interesting subsystem. Get
Yeah. No, I hope so. Again, looking at in my Vanguard, I only use resolve when I have to, you know, get stamina, and I have a ton of resolve. It's
yeah,
kind of boring, you know.
yeah.
Versus
I mean,
like the envoy, he uses his resolve all the time to do special ability things.
yeah.
We always got to
It's a
worry about him running out of resolve,
it's a
So
it's a balancing factor, right? I mean,
yeah.
do you do that? Do you try to do thinking about this if you were building Starfinder again from scratch? Say, would you use it in the way that like, oh, make sure every class has the exact same sort of general ideas of how to spend resolve points? Or do you say like, well, a fighter is probably going to need to get its stamina back a lot more than
Hmm.
not, the soldier or some like Vanguard frontline fighter. So you don't give them as many ways to spend resolve with the
Right.
class. So they have it to get their stamina back, or do you just say, "Eh, heck it, everyone gets 3 ways to spend resolve points in their class. They're different for every class or whatever," and then you just go, good luck. Now you have this resource to manage and
Yeah.
good luck.
I actually like the second approach there, even though I don't, basically I get to decide, do I use it on rerolls or
Right.
I might have to rest here to regain resolve. or use it on boosting. I got to make a special attack roll. I want to boost it by 2 or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. Or I might put a lot of resolve in it. I don't
Sure.
know.
Yeah.
Again, not something I worked on, but I'm excited to see more uses to it, to put a little more options for tweaks and things. I think that'll be nice.
Sure. Yeah. That's sort of all of this extra stuff. Like we were talking about the sort of optional stuff for Starfinder, but then
Mhm.
more just sort of like again the more feats are going to be
Right.
whoever meets the prerequisites, of course, but they don't
Mhm.
have to be attached to any of these sort of optional straight up feats. And then there's
Yeah.
also going to be plenty of I want to make sure that this actually says this before I say it myself. Yeah, new class features and character options for every class. So there's
Yes.
some be
Yes.
precog stuff in there. Great. They should have
Evolutionist
some
stuff.
evolution stuff. Thank you.
Yeah.
Stuff
Yeah.
in there, sort of new and obviously it has not as much stuff to go for it because it's only had one book out, core
Mhm.
book, right? It's got to have um it'd probably be along the lines of like, well, that might end up getting like 4 pages and 6 pages
Or whatever it is.
because there's a lot more design space there because I haven't put it too much. But
Mhm.
mechanic, soldier have had books and books and books. Maybe they'll
Right.
get as much. But again, who knows? I don't remember exactly how this thing was laid out. Even if I did, I probably shouldn't say.
Yes. Yes. I will not say any more than that. How's that?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I will mention, and this is the one thing, and I mentioned to you before, this was my biggest project. So I
Yeah,
had my biggest word count on this compared to anything else that I've worked on. And I was very excited to work on these sections that I did. I can't wait to see how they've ended up, because the developer always makes a
sure.
pass and does some things to them. I always try to put in stuff that I think is really, really cool and I'd really like to have, and sometimes might be a little bit beyond the bounds of what we should go with and has to get reined back, but you never know.
You never
Um,
know.
but October. Now, I think they said that at PaizoCon and probably at Gen Con panels, they would drop some more hints about stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And
They'll
I think that's
they'll
usually
say
what
more.
they try to
And
do.
at
And
that point, we can say exactly what we worked on.
oh, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Probably,
Yeah.
yeah. This was my last official so
Oh,
far.
oh.
It was freelance, but
Well, at least you'll get a contributor copy this time
I'll finally get a contributor copy of some
rather than
stuff. I
nothing.
mean, this past
Yeah.
I'm still waiting. I'm just reminding myself that I should be getting some contributor copies. February was a year a month of stuff that I had worked on both for freelance and
Mhm.
develop wise was coming out. So, uh, but I haven't seen any of it yet myself.
Well,
Uh,
it's a long way to mail it, apparently, from where you're
I
at there.
mean, contributor copies are always like the last ones to get mailed out. I
I
think.
know, I know, I know. All right. Well,
If it Well,
go
there's
ahead.
one more thing I just want to note here. I think if my timing is right, this might be some of Dustin Knight's first work on Star.
Oh,
So we'll
yeah,
see if got
yeah.
what he maybe have stepped in to sort of take another pass at some stuff or some stuff or something. We'll see.
Um, yes, I believe that's the case. I was talking with him about something else, and I
Mm,
brought this up to them. He said, "Oh, good, I can talk to you about it." So
good, yeah. Oh, I know it exists.
because
Don't
this is
worry, you can
before
talk
it's
to me about it. Yeah,
announced, and, like, he
yeah,
couldn't
yeah,
even
yeah.
say this thing is coming, right? Because it's like,
Right, exactly.
oh,
You might not know. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I don't remember what that interaction was, but it was kind of funny. I said, "Oh, there's somebody else I could talk to about."
Good, good.
Otherwise,
I'm
it's like,
glad.
"Oh, that's it. That's it." But I can't wait. October, so I was really
I
hoping
know.
Jen.
It's these things get announced so far in advance because of all of the weird stuff that has to be told to distributors, and then if we
Yeah,
don't announce it, if Paizo doesn't announce it on Twitter, people will find it on Amazon just by accident and be like,
right,
"What's this?" And
right.
then we have to say, "Oh, well, actually, it's this because make an announcement." So it's always a shame when things get announced so far in advance, but uh, it's weird. It's just this weird publishing quirk.
I know. Well, I think I have something else coming out at Gen Con that I hope gets
Oh, good.
announced.
Oh,
that'll
it
make
hasn't
them.
been announced. Well, that's interesting. Something coming on Gen Con that you've worked on hasn't been announced yet.
Yeah, go
Hmm.
figure. Go figure. All right. Who knows?
Who
I don't know when it's
knows?
coming out. I'm hoping it comes out sooner.
Fair enough.
All
Fair enough.
right. Well, I think we've said as much as we can without saying anything
Without saying
specific,
too much.
but I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'm excited
I'm
about
excited
this.
too. Yeah.
Well, I'm John.
And I'm Jason, and this has been Digital Divination.